Good people YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and yeah, big news in the watch world. Tudor has finally released their Marine Nationale watch quite some time after announcing their partnership earlier this year, and the watch they came up with is the Pelagos FXD, and it's got some interesting differences when compared to the original Pelagos, which I have owned over here for over 4 years, and I absolutely love it. And I did a whole video on that a few months ago during the early days of the channel. So in this video, I'm gonna go over the basics of the new watch so that we have a good idea of what it is before we get into the expectations that we had for the watch beforehand, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and finally, whether or not I'll be getting that watch. And yeah, this has been a tough one, once again, just because I've been avoiding, watching any videos on the FXD just so I can, formulate my own thoughts without any chances of, residual influence or whatever it may be. So yeah, I waited a little while for it just so that everything can just settle down in my brain. And it's a good thing that I did that because my thoughts have changed actually quite a bit since I first saw the watch this past Wednesday morning. So, I'm glad that I did wait, but yeah, let's get into it. So let's just go over the dimensions over here, and just like the original Pelagos, it's 42 millimeters at the bezel, meaning that the case is a little bit smaller than that, and that also means that the bezel overhangs slightly, which makes it a lot easier to grip and turn, which is awesome. And for me, the biggest change comes in the thickness because it's now 12.75 millimeters instead of 14.3 millimeters. And on wrist, even on the cloth strap, I think that's gonna make a pretty big difference overall. And next up, we have the lug to lug, which has increased to 52 millimeters from 50 millimeters, but that's really solely down to the fixed strap bars, which we're gonna be talking about later on. And yeah, the water resistance has gone down to 200 meters from 500 meters and has dropped the helium escape valve, but that's really just because neither of those things matter at all to the Marine Nationale, which is pretty awesome. Oh, and we have a 120 click bidirectional countdown bezel, which is super cool, and it's milspec, and the minute marks go all the way around the 60, and the coin edge is a little bit more aggressive, which makes it even easier to grip. And I mean, not to say that the original bezel wasn't grippy, because it is, and I love it. And actually, while we're at it, let's just listen to it right now. And finally, the watch is priced at $3,900 US and 3,650 euros. So like I said before, I've owned and loved my Pelagos over here for over 4 years, and I've owned 3 other Black Bays, the GMT very briefly, and the Black Bay 58 Blue, which I have talked about a lot, and the Black Bay 58 925, which I have talked about a lot as well. And it's no secret that I absolutely love everything that the Pelagos stands for. And I seriously think that this is my favorite watch in my collection. And if I had to sell every single watch in my collection, I think this would be the last one standing, despite my absolute love for 38 to 40 millimeter watches. Is there something about the Pelagos? But, that being said, I knew that there were things that I would want to change just to make sure that even more people can experience the glories of the Pelagos. And the main thing that came to mind, and to many watch people's minds, is that would have been awesome if this was smaller, honestly. And just the way it is right now, it's super comfy, but it is big and it is quite thick, which makes it tough for a lot of people to wear. So, of course, when the Marine Nationale partnership was announced, I thought that this would be an amazing opportunity to introduce a Pelagos in a smaller size and stay true to the original ethos and purpose of the Tudor Marine Nationale snowflakes, while giving the watch world what it's been asking for so many years. So yeah, and also a lot of the renders and stuff like that had that planned out as well, which was pretty cool. So I like a lot of things about the FXD, and the main thing is that Tudor simply didn't recreate the original Marine Nationale by making another Black Bay 58 in just a new colorway, because honestly, that would have been pretty lazy, for such a momentous partnership. Instead, what they did was that they redesigned the Marine Nationale to be a watch that they would distribute to the Marine Nationale right now if Tudor were to supply them with watches today, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, and I think this is a great move because they're actually pushing things forward a bit instead of recreating the past. And it's also staying true to what a military watch should be today, namely a watch that is there to do a job and to do it well, no matter what situation it's in. And for that, the Pelagos was the absolutely perfect base for that, and honestly the only base for that. So next up, I'm absolutely loving the new milspec countdown bezel. I used to own a Zen 104 and I loved how different the countdown bezel felt when I was using it and seeing it. And also, as it turns out, it's actually useful for underwater navigation, apparently. So, you know, I'm all for it. Also, I love that it has minute markings beyond the first 15 minutes because as someone who times all kinds of useless things all the time, having the minute marks to go all the way around really does make at a glance reading, you know, a lot easier. And of course, it's fully loomed like on my Pelagos, which is always going to be a welcome feature. More loomed the better. And to continue on with the bezel, I love that it's a bi-directional 120 click bezel because that will make life so much easier when adjusting the time. So at first, I wasn't a big fan of the fixed strap bars, but now that I've had some time to think about it, you know, I've really warmed up to them because I really do think that they will add so much to the watch and add such a unique experience to the watch because there aren't that many watches out there with fixed bars. The only ones that I can think of are the Marathon Navigator, which is a seriously cool watch. I owned one for a little while, and the CWC Diver. That's pretty much it. But here, Tudor has integrated the bars beautifully, honestly, and yeah, just looking at that will be such an awesome treat to whoever buys one. And additionally, it'll work well with a bunch of NATO straps as well because it's been designed with a big gap over there. So, you know, thick straps and stuff like that, it's not going to be a problem. Oh, and of course, it's awesome that the thickness has gone down to 12.75 millimeters, which is always going to be a welcome change, even though the difference isn't going to be as apparent just because you're always going to have a strap underneath it or two layers of straps or whatever it may be. Okay, so this is going to be a long section, I guess, because as much as I love it, there are quite a few things I don't like about it. And I am disappointed that they missed a golden opportunity to make this watch, you know, the halo watch of the new chapter of the Pelagos line. You know, it would have been awesome for them to make it 40 millimeters just because so many people have been asking for it, and to introduce this new ultra popular size as a super memorable and super special collaboration with the Marine Nationale of all things would have just made it absolutely amazing, but I guess not. You know, that being said, you know, I can see it the other way in that, you know, this watch was created purely as a tool for the Marine Nationale for real life situations. And in those real life situations, having a bigger dial in, you know, bigger case of 42 millimeters would undoubtedly be more useful as a tool watch. But in the end, this is still a watch that's going to be sold solely to enthusiasts. So I do think that a 40 millimeter size would have been awesome once again, and honestly the toolness of it wouldn't have really been that diminished. So the next big thing is that it doesn't come on a bracelet. And yes, I did say before that I like the fixed strap bars, and I totally get that they're awesome and accurate and everything like that, but you know, my god, the bracelet on the Pelagos is such an integral and gigantic part of the Pelagos experience that I almost find it impossible to think about experiencing the Pelagos without the bracelet. I mean, the links and the feel and the silkiness of the titanium links just feel insanely good. And of course, there's that absolutely amazing clasp that's on it over here that you can adjust beautifully and super easily, better than the glide lock system in my opinion. Also, the bracelet is fully articulating with female end links, which makes the watch wear wonderfully. And now that the FXD has the fixed bars and the lug-to-lug is 52 millimeters, it's gonna be much tougher for those with smaller wrists. But the final thing that irritated me about the overall watch is a relatively small detail that probably won't bother the vast majority of people, but it's that the multi-level rehot in the notches for the indices that's on my Pelagos is now gone on the FXD, and now it's just a flat dial with a simple rehot, and that's it. For me, this multi-level rehot made such a huge difference when looking at the watch, because it just added this extra dimension and extra flair and visual interest while taking absolutely nothing away from the overall utility of the watch. So it's still the brutal tool watch that's supposed to be. So some of you might argue that, oh wait, this is a no frills military watch, and you know, a rehot like that would be absolutely superfluous and stupid and idiotic over there and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But at that point, there would be no need to beautifully brush the entire case on the FXD. So, I mean, at that point, you might as well sandblast the entire thing and call it a day. And yeah, that brings me to the question of whether or not I'll be buying the FXD, and simply put, no. And I don't think that I will be buying it now or, you know, anytime soon, honestly. However, that's not really down to the watch being bad. It's more about it, you know, potentially stepping on the toes of my Pelagos, or rather the other way around, my Pelagos stepping on its toes, because that's not going to be as versatile. And, you know, who knows, maybe if it had been, you know, a little bit smaller, around the 40mm size, and maybe if it had a bracelet or something like that, the story might have been different. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to be really tough to have anything so similar go against my Pelagos, just because of how much I love it. Also, on top of that, I'm lining up a huge purge of my collection. I think it's going to be about 10 watches that I'm going to be selling next week, actually, which was instigated by one watch that I really want to get. So I need to have the funds open for that. But even if I didn't have that watch coming up, I don't think that I would have sprung for this FXD. And actually, my next video is going to be about the purge and why I think a smaller collection is ideal. And I'll be selling those watches that are being purged in that video. And yeah, so off the top of my head, it's my 25th anniversary Grand Sacred Quartz SBGT 241 and my Omega Speedmaster X33 Skywalker, Olek & Weiss P104, Laurier Hydra Series 2, the Zelos Swordfish 40 Teal, the Visitor Linden. I think that's all I remember right now, but yeah, and some more obviously, and I've done videos on a lot of those watches, so check those out. So yeah, if you by chance want to buy one right now, or if you're interested, then send me an email. It'll be written down over here, and it's thewatchidiot@gmail.com, alongside with a link to the cheapest comparable watch, aka box and papers and pretty much mint. And I'll just beat the price, just because I want to make it as easy and smooth for you and me. So yeah, that's about it. And I hope you enjoyed my take on the FXD. And if you did, hit the like button and the subscribe button, because that helps the channel immensely. And of course, hit the notification bell as well while you're at it. And yeah, until the next video, which is about this purge, good day.